Okay guys, I haven't made a video in a while, so I thought I'd pick it back up again in a little computer tutorial. This will be showing you how to build a desktop computer. I'm using really old parts, but they're mostly all the same, so if you're using this as a tutorial, it's pretty much the same for just about anything. This is an old 775 DDR1 board, 2 Super Talent DDR1 1 gig sticks. This is a old Pentium D, 3 GHz I think. Stock Intel cooler, 7200 RPM, 160 GB SATA drive, and this is just a stock 350 watt power supply I think. And I'm just going to put it together in this junky old case I had laying around. Okay, so first thing I do is take this and the I/O shield, and I put it in the case and just snap it in. Kind of old and doesn't fit very well. Next thing I do before I do anything is I take the processor and put it in the motherboard. So you gently find the way it goes, sit it in there, give it a little tiny wiggle to make sure it's in there right, and you pop the socket down. The next thing I do before I do anything else is pop the heatsink right on the motherboard. I'm going to go blow this fan with some air first because it's a little bit dusty, it's old and sitting around, and I'll be right back once I get the fan on and have it blown out. Okay, so I have the CPU fan on the motherboard, and I just realized I forgot a very important step. You're going to want to put your thermal paste on the CPU heatsink before you put the fan on. I always put the heatsink on because I have a lot of trouble with it, and it saves a lot of trouble for later if you put it on before you put it in the case. So now you're going to want to take your 4-pin fan connector, or 3-pin, whichever you have, and stick it, oops, wrong way, into the CPU fan header on the motherboard. I'm not going to worry about cable management in this build. Now you're going to want to open the RAM notches, find out which way they go, and stick them in. Align them and give it a good push on each side until they just fit into place. You'll hear a snap. Try not to push too hard though. Oh, and another tip, if you're putting your CPU in, don't force it in. If it doesn't fit, it's most likely the wrong way. Okay, so now that the motherboard is all set up with everything we need on it, we're going to fasten it into the case. So you want to just fit it in there and align it with the screw holes, and then screw it in once it's aligned. I'm going to skip that part because it's going to be long and boring, so I'll be back after I screw it in. Okay, so now that I have my motherboard screwed in, we can start doing some cable management and plugging the cables in before we get anything else in there to put in the way. So I usually take the cables, put them through the cable management holes, although you don't have to do this, it's just how I like to keep it neat. And I'm just doing this quickly for the purpose of the video. This is just, I run a computer shop, so this is an old case, it's some old parts I had laying around. So if you're buying a new motherboard, all the connectors will be in the manual. If you're not, look at the motherboard model and look it up online and just type in F panel after it, it should come up. So I'm just going to plug mine in. There they go. Because I have a pretty good idea of where it goes. And then the USB switches, I haven't used a USB switch like this in a long time, so they're pretty old. speaker or mic. Next up here. Oops. And this is for the power supply. So, okay, so this is a fan header that's in the front. So we're going to find another fan hole. The fan headers are usually white, but again, that depends on the motherboard. I usually use old stuff in my shop, like Core 2 Duo series, stuff like that. Alright, so now we are going to put the hard drive and DVD drive in. Hard drive's up here. It's a SATA hard drive. You just stick it in a drive hole. There is a fan there, so that won't go in there. That won't go in all the way. We'll have to put it in the bottom. Okay, there, it's mounted at the very bottom. Now we're going to put some screws over here in the drive holes. Again, this is going to be different with every case. Every case looks different. This is just an old case I had laying around. I'm only going to put one screw in it just to keep it steady, just for the purpose of this video, because I'm going to be disassembling this later on. That's not going anywhere. Next, you're going to want to locate your SATA or IDE cables. I just had this one laying around. And there's a spot for it in the hard drive or disk drive and the motherboard. So you just plug it in to one, goes that way, and then plug it into the motherboard. Mine is a little long, but I'd usually tuck it behind the case so it's neater. Probably won't worry about that in the video, or it'll just stay there, so whatever. Next, over here, we have ID cables for the disk drive. Notice they have one notch in the top. That tells you where it goes. So, well, I'll put the new disk drive in first, so you guys know how to do that. So if you put one in, you should just pop out the front cover and you should just slide in. Same as a hard drive, you just stick a screw in there. I don't think I have a screw on hand for that. Oh no, I do right here. Okay, so yeah, you take the same as a hard drive, you just take it, screw it into the slot. Screwdriver's a little flimsy. And once it's screwed in, take the ID cable and goes this way. Yes, there was already a few DVD drives and hard drives in this case already. And you route it down into where it goes in the motherboard. The longer port that looks like this will be the one for the ID hard drive or disk drive. The shorter port is for a floppy disk. So once that's securely in, you've got everything hooked up pretty much except for the floppy disk, but I'm not going to cover that because it's the same as the disk drive except shorter. Okay, now we're going to put the power supply in. Oh, and about these ports, this is where you put a USB reader or a whatever you want. This is your PCI port, and this would be where your graphics card goes, your 980 Ti or whatever you put in there. So that's where graphics cards go, and you just pop out one of these back things and you install it with a screw right here. Okay, so grab the power supply and take it, put it up here, and if you can see, yeah, back here there'll be some screws here, and you can't see because it's too tall, but way up there. I'm just going to pause this while I screw it in. Okay, so we have that all screwed in and fastened. And now we have all these cords. Now usually in a video I'd route them around the back of the case and move them around, but I'm just going to be tearing this apart later, so I'm not going to bother with the cable management. So this big 24 pin one, in this case, oh no, it is 24 pin. we plug it into the big white hole in the motherboard. Or it may not be white on all computers, but it's the big one with a lot of connectors on it. Now we have a little small one with a little clip on it. That goes up here by the CPU. That is the CPU power connector. Now all these little white ones, those are for IDE disk drives or hard drives, or some really old graphics cards or add-in cards. Let's tuck that in there. And these black ones here, those are for SATA connectors. So the bottom one down here will be for the SATA hard drive. And that's about it. I'm probably forgetting something because I'm just doing this video right now. Didn't really think about it, but I'm going to go test this. See if it works. And I have no idea if these parts work because I didn't try them before this, so I'll be just as surprised as you are if it does work. I'm going to go plug everything in and then I'll show you when it powers on. Okay, we're going to plug in I already plugged in the VGA to the back so we can get the signal to our monitor. And we're going to plug in the power. Sorry it's such a mess in here. I got a skew of computer parts everywhere. Okay. Oh, look at that. She booted right up. Everything's running. Hard drive sounded like it had some clicks. That's not really a good sign. It's not moving past the post screen, so that's not a good sign either, but well, at least I got to show you guys it powered on. Okay, no keyboard present. Press F1 to continue. Okay, so everything works. All 2 gigs of RAM work. And that's pretty much it. There's going to be more steps if you have more stuff to attach, but like I said, graphics cards go there. More powerful power supplies have more connectors, but you'll probably have to watch a different tutorial for that. And that's the tutorial.